Hello, friends. Today we're going to talk about something important that you need to start preparing for patch 3.2. And it's also going to transition nicely into me talking about resonances. Right. In 3.2, there's a lot of important events that are running, obviously, because it's the 2.5 year anniversary. But we've focused only on this event called the Full King Parade event. Okay. Everything else you can kind of achieve passively or just by logging in, right? But this one, you need to be active and fulfill these conditions. So, what it is an 11 task track event. So, when you complete 11 of these tasks, you unlock this item and you get two of them. So, what this is it increases your resonance level by one. And you can see how powerful that is, right? If you take into account going from resonance 13 to 14 is 8 Sonaris Knells and 2 mystical, 2 of those orange items, and 4 exquisite plus the crystal casket itself, right? And then going from 14 to 15 is even more expensive. You have an additional mystical uh, item that you need to procure as well. So it does save you a whole bunch of materials, right? So essentially, what this is it's a refund on the investment that you put in, right? So long as you can complete this whole event, um, which isn't that easy to do if you don't prepare for it, especially when it comes to getting all the materials required. And bear in mind that there is no sort of free energy event that's going on during this patch. So that in itself is going to take a big toll as well. So it's relatively easy to sort of complete um, the other seven requirements, right? Um, Getting one character to level 60 from a pool of characters, using at least 600k shops, and using at least 1 million dust, right? Or is it shops? It must be shops, right? Essentially, pretty easy to do so long as you're actively leveling characters. But one is where it will start to stump you, right? Because you've already spent so much getting to level 7 here, and then you have to go even further than that, right? So the first one here is to do with reaching resonance 13, right? And in order to do that, you remember this is not retroactive, right? We go to Cornbloom and we take a character like Beryl, right? Go into her resonances and change it from 10 to 13. And you can see the amount of materials that's required. That's pretty steep, right? All things considered, that's pretty steep. So you want to be preparing um, the items in regards to who you want to be leveling as well, right? But that aside, we just focus on the crystal casket, the sort of time gated stuff, right? So we need 17 Sonaris Knells and 3 crystal caskets. When we complete this once, we'll get this back. We'll get 3 Knells back as well as 2 exquisite packages as well. So we need to do this twice, right? Each time you get diminishing returns on the rewards that you get. So I believe the second time around, you don't get any crystal casket, and you get one less Sonaris Nell, and then you get. I think you still get 2 packages. I forget. So in total, you need about um, obviously do the math and subtract from whatever freebie you get. You're going to need at least 5 crystal caskets and 30 something odd Nells, right? So quite steep, all things considered, on top of the rest of the materials that you need to be considering, right? And I'll talk about the characters that you should be taking to Resonance 13 here a little later. The second part is to do with leveling your characters, right? It's either two characters from a pool to Insight 360, level 60, and the pool appears when you click this button, right? I'll show you guys what the characters are. And then any three characters is the bottom condition, three characters to Insight 3, and you have to level them from level 3 to 60. So that's an important stipulation. You can't have none of these characters can be level 30 Insight 3 and you take them to 60. That's different from this first condition where you can do that. So it's more important to prioritize the top condition, especially if you tend to park your characters at level 30 Insight 3. So how much does it cost to take one character up from level 1 Insight 3 to level 60? And the amount is 810k dust and 400k sharp, right? You can't actually do the get an accurate value here because it um, takes into account the leveling cost from Insight 2. So I believe it's not possible to do, right? It's only 500k to get it up to level 50, right? So I went ahead and double checked that on one of my characters. So we need to take either 3 of these to fulfill this once, or 2 of the top condition. So it's much preferred if you already have a character at level 30 ready to go. And those characters are from this pool right here. Remember, there's no rank up characters in this list, so it's only just these characters, and I've prioritized them in the way that it's most important to level, right? Obviously, for the Blood Tithe team, Nordica is the highest priority, and then it's Semmelweis because she gives her Euphoria passive distributes HP, right, based on her max HP, and then so on. Obviously, Ezra, I would not include in any of these leveling sort of goals unless he's like the only character that you have, right? And then Beryl, extremely important that you take Beryl to level 60. You can't really park her at level 30. She's far too squishy in that sense. Isolde, you don't need to take her beyond level 30. She provides her bonuses through her passives mostly, not through her she doesn't do a significant amount of damage as is, so it's not that important. Only for survivability reasons you would take her to level 60. And then for the Dino team, if you're pulling on Broom, Broom is by far the highest priority out of the characters that the main DPSs that we've discussed so far. If you did pull on Corvus during 3.1, Corvus will be the next priority. Obviously, if you have Lucy, then she's also a main DPS, so she's got higher priority. And then it's Karen, who has a more universal reach, right? Because he can be used in all these teams, as opposed to someone like Ulrich, who's slightly lower, right? And then for the impromptu team, the only important character here is Kiparina. Your attack value determines the shield strength and so on. She's also extremely global. She's a tier 0 healer, so she gets used in a lot of different compositions, right? Maybe not the Lingering Glow, but definitely for the Daimo team, as well as different follow-up attack teams, right? And the rest here don't really matter too much. What matters more for these impromptu characters is that their resonance levels are correct, and their psi cubes are leveled up, right? As well as their amplification level is very important to determining the overall damage that you're outputting. So moving on to the Ultimate Might team, I ideally would not suggest leveling any of these characters, maybe with the exception of Getian. Recoleta, obviously, because she's the main DPS, and if don't have a lot of characters and she's all you have, then taking her to level 60 is not a bad idea either, but she does get power crept by Igor. That's going to be a certainty in 3.3. Then the next line is to do with follow-up attack characters. I would not be leveling any of these characters unless you're specifically leveling Calabuana's Euphoria in 3.2 to play with Euphoria Anjanala. There's no reason to be leveling Calabuana beyond level 30 either. But when it comes to Anjanala, if you're playing her in the follow-up attack archetype, she is highest priority, obviously. But even more so if you're playing her with Broom, and I'll get into that a little bit later as well. And then the two other characters, because they're the most valuable global supports in the game, right? For two and Flutter Page. Flutter Page especially you want to take to level 60 because she does suffer from the same problem as Beryl, where she has limited HP. You can adjust it with resonances, obviously, but you do want to take her to level 60. And then because you're gonna also be using a 5-star side cube starting from 3.2. It's Matilda's 5-star side cube that you get. So that's gonna be even more of an HP loss. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers the sort of order in which you should be leveling. Try to stick with this kind of sort of priority list, right, as you go forward. If you're just leveling 3 characters, it's going to be pretty steep, right, in terms of investment, especially if they're not part of the meta, right? If I were to include any other characters, it would be the rank up archetype, and I would go from Mercuria, Argus, and not Druvis, but Villa, right? Those 3 would be the other alternatives there. Did I mention Marcus? Because Marcus should be somewhere between Argus and Villa because she's also going to be phased out. Okay, I'm a little long-winded, but in regards to who you should prioritize for well, actually, hold on. We haven't talked about if you're parking your character at if I3 levels 30, right? What do you need? I overlooked that actually. Let's see. I'll talk about the resonance stuff too real quick. Resonance cost. Dude. Whisker's talking. Okay. So if I were to take what's going on? A level 30 character to that would be 566k. 566k. Dust. 280. Okay. So I hope that's pretty clear. So you should be taking these characters here. What? Right. You can take a screenshot if you would like. So if you're level 30 inside 3, then you already need this amount right here. Okay. When it comes to the crystal caskets and the Nells, you want to be obviously prioritizing from this patch, right? from the current patch, the Oneric shop is about to reset here in 4 days, right? Because I'm in New Zealand time. Um, Here in 4 days, you want to be making sure that you have um, at least 17 Nell going forward, right? Because you're going to get a certain number of Nells during the course of patch 3.2. It's also important that you have enough crystal caskets. So if that's not a if that's something that you're good on, you want to be buying it from the shop here, right? You want to be buying the crystal casket, and you want to make sure that you have the Nells. Okay. Um okay, so lastly, we're going to talk about what characters you want to be pushing to Resonance 13. And it kind of echoes this sentiment right here, right? So when it goes to, uh, sorry, what characters take to 13? And I'm sort of uh, at this, but okay. So we have Beryl. This is her 3.3 data, right? We have Nordica from 3.1, her premium team. This is going to be you can see a trend that's going on. It's usually between a 10 to 15% increase from going from resonance 10 to 15. um, Ideally, you want to be stopping, unless you're a whale, you want to be stopping at resonance 13. Okay. Um, but for Beryl in particular, right? Um, you want to take her to resonance 15 because it also improves her survivability. It's okay, I guess, to keep her at resonance 13 or take her to resonance 13 and hold there because you need to fulfill that condition for another character or two if you choose to push another character. Obviously, Nordica has great resonance scaling here as well. Hold on. Uh, should have done this earlier. Okay. Percentage. Okay. So 13%, 11%, 19%. You can see sort of like the value of taking these certain characters. There's more value here, right? But because they're main archetype DPS anyway, you want to be taking them up regardless. Okay. It's about as efficient usually as going from a portrait 0 character to portrait 1 is usually the increase in DPI that you get from going from resonance 10 to 15, right? In Beryl's case, he does get quite a significant bonus from going up in resonance anyway. So it's really a no-brainer to be using your materials on her, and even using that item that we get. This item that we get, which allows you to take them for free for the last 2 levels, it's also worth it right there. So if I were to, this is gonna be ugly. Let me think. Sorry for not doing this earlier, but hey, it gives you more time to kind of see what's going. Yeah. Right. Not gonna be pretty. It is what it is. Corvus, also, if you've pulled for Corvus, the conditions for the test were that we used Fatutu and averaged out at 90 stacks of combined arcs. Okay. Not looking too terrible. And then in Anjanala's case, this is with Broom, right? So I only suggest taking these three characters. Um, they should be priority compared to everything else. If they are already at, like, say for instance, if your Nautica is already at Resonance 15, then obviously you can default to Anjanala. Let me think about other alternatives that you. Um, None really jump out. If you find yourself in a position where you don't have any characters because you're not pulling for Barrel or Broom for some reason, um, then it's going to be a little difficult to efficiently fulfill this condition, right? Because we're taking this into the with the context of how these characters are going to perform as we move on, right? From 3.3 to 3.4 and so on. You want to be raising the resonance levels of relevant characters, not characters that are still kind of awaiting a Euphoria update, for instance, right? Um, so what have I missed? Corvus and Anjanala. Yeah. Corvus and Anjanala. All right. Pretty ugly. Yeah. It is what it is. So you can take a screenshot and use that later on, right? Um, Again, I recommend that you stop at resonance 13 for all these characters, right? Unless you're a whale, you should be taking them to 15, right? That's the only caveat. It's too kind of expensive for somebody that started somewhere between like 2.4 onwards to be taking characters to resonance 15 offhandedly, right? And who knows what's coming around the corner in terms of um the 3.4 anniversary characters, the new year characters, right? So your materials matter a lot, actually. They do play a significant role in your character's strength, right? It's not just about resonance 10, uh level 30, insight 3, level 30, and so on. So I think that should be summarizing everything that I wanted to sort of talk about. Sorry. But obviously you should start saving right now. I don't really think I have anything more to be talking about. The next video I'm going to be doing is in regards to archetype tier list, DPR, and so on. So I look forward to that. Enjoy your holidays, and till next time.